welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today I have with me engineer Gayle Hicks from Public Works, and we're going to talk about a stormwater project, which I know sounds boring, but it's also flood control and mitigation, and it's a really good project for the City of Hampton. Welcome, Gayle. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. We're very excited about this project and another project that we have ongoing that really essentially accomplishes the same thing.
Well, you know, I was remembering that I did an interview about this project like 2 years ago when we were first kicking it off. Mm-hmm. I forget how long things take in the engineering, planning, construction time frame.
It really does, and this one in particular took a lot more time than we anticipated. We were like at 100% design, and we found out that VDOT was having a project. And VDOT's project is actually being constructed simultaneously with our project, and it is the same contractor.
Wow, wow, so everything is wrapped under one umbrella.
Well, essentially, they have, their project management and their project inspection, and we have ours, which is actually a good thing because now we've got two, essentially.
Now, when we tell people where this is, the whole VDOT thing will make sense because
Absolutely.
It is Coliseum Lake, right around all of that interstate, interchange, roadway, tons of pavement, drainage issues into Newmarket Creek, which is, one of our top flooding challenges, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. It is, and I think the separation is going to be, even though this contractor will be doing the work and will be installing some items that are similar to our items. They're doing a sheet pile structure and we're doing a sheet pile structure. Theirs is the one, it's got like 1,700 linear feet along the 664 ramp.
Okay.
And then we will be out in the middle of Coliseum Lake installing essentially what turns out to be a sheet pile structure.
Okay, Gayle, you're talking engineering. You got to slow down. What we're trying to do essentially is what? Give us the big picture overview.
The big picture is this drainage area is 362 acres. It's 80% impervious.
That means paved over because it's parking lot, buildings.
That's
very intensely developed.
That's right. And that means that when it rains there, everything that has been deposited in parking lots and streets runs off very quickly and goes into the storm drain system. And then after it goes through the storm drain system, it outfalls into that large ditch that you see along the highway. Mm-hmm. And once it goes through there, it goes through Coliseum Lake. It's currently functioning as a best management practice. It is a BMP. It functions, it has a little bit of water quality in it and a lot of water quantity in it. It stores an awful lot of water.
Which isn't so, I mean, it was kind of a burrow pit. It's where they dug out
it was a burrow pit.
The soil and rock and things for construction of that interstate.
That's correct.
And when it wasn't really built to do what it's doing, which is filter and hold water.
That's right. Now what we're going to do is add a pre-treatment area, which is a wetland area. So it's going to really sort of dramatically change in the way that it looks. We're going to have to, the ditch is going to need to be widened a little bit, and the slopes will have to be stabilized. Currently, there's a lot of vegetation on those slopes, and things are falling into that structure.
Boy, I believe. I notice along Newmarket Creek, every time I kayak, there's more trees that are coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, that creek is widening itself. And I'm sure the ditch is trying to do the same thing.
Ditch is trying to do the same thing. These are essentially volunteer plants. And they don't have the type, they're not necessarily the type of plants that like to have wet feet. That's the first problem. And because of the configuration of the slope, a lot of those things are falling down into the creek. So we're going to widen that area and so that we can have a larger pre-treatment area. And then we're going to put in, essentially, it looks like a rock dam that is going to keep water in that until it reaches a certain level. Then it will overflow into the wetland area, which is on the two sides, so there's going to be a lot of grading there. And then we'll also put a structure in the lake itself. It'll be underwater, and that will act as a way to settle out sediments and settle out these things that are harmful to the bay, essentially.
Right, because when you have parking lots, I mean, all of us have cars that occasionally drip some oil, that have some radiator overflow with dangerous chemicals in it, with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, people who throw cigarettes out their window, all those things that end up on roadways, what we're trying to do then is filter it somewhat naturally through the soils and things before it gets into the bay.
That's correct. And you know, that's part of our, the Chesapeake Bay is on a pollution diet. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
And there are 7 Chesapeake Bay states. I usually say 6, but I forget that West Virginia actually has a portion of West Virginia is in the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
Oh, wow, because of the rivers that flow in.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And so we're all mandated by the EPA to clean up the bay by 2025. And the great thing about this project, because it has such a large drainage area, the great thing about this project is it's going to put us over our first 5-year, you know, we had a 5% improvement, and we'll be at 9% improvement, and it'll be a great kickstart to our program to do what we're obligated to do as our share of cleaning up the bay.
Well, you got to figure, if you're putting in little retention ponds behind schools, which I know we're doing a lot of because that's publicly owned land, it's a good place to do it. This is the biggest retention pond you could possibly build in the city of Hampton. I mean, there's just not that much land anywhere else, and that's holding quite a bit of water from rainfall, from tidal because of the creek. I mean, there's just a whole lot going on in there.
There is a whole lot going on there. And I have to emphasize to folks, you know, the program is evolving. And if I understand why the state has done it the way they have, because EPA sets the guidelines and then we have to follow through and come up with a plan to make that happen. So the program is evolving, and when we first selected projects, we really selected projects based on how efficient they were. Now we're really looking towards selecting larger size projects, projects that have large drainage areas, because when it comes right down to it, in order for us to all do our part to clean up the bay, it is going to take a considerable amount of effort on all of our part.
It's very, very expensive, and that is one of the things, you know, when you do the big projects, you've got the big expense, but you also have the big effects.
Right.
And Hampton you guys have tried to choose projects that not only helped with the quality, which is the mandate, but sort of like, geez, if you're going to spend that money anyway, let's hold more.
Right.
Let's mitigate some of the effects of the flooding while we're in there.
That's our intention, and we still try to select projects with that in mind.
Now, what's this going to look like while it's going on? Are we going to see trees coming down and big old heavy equipment in there? Because this is such a visible place. You know, you go past it on the interstate, on 64, on 664, and you'll be able to see it, you know, from the Coliseum area too.
It's actually pretty fascinating. I think people are generally fascinated by large construction projects.
Oh, yeah.
Currently, you see a huge crane out there, and then they've, because there's really no way to get a barge in there otherwise. Obviously, you can't have this huge barge coming down the street on a flatbed truck. It came in pieces. It's a segmented barge, which they had to assemble and place into the lake. So it's fascinating to watch it all happening. And we are actually at the stage where we're going to start the clearing, and it is going to look dramatically different. And I want people to be aware that please bear with us, because we will have planting, but in the area of the outfall ditch, that's pretty much, that's going to be stabilized. There's not a lot of room to support planting, but once we get into the wetland area, we'll have 3,700 plugs and 35 trees and 520 bushes, and these will all be plants that are selected because they like to have wet feet.
They like to have wet feet.
Right.
They help stabilize the shoreline. They're going to help filter also. I mean, the plants that are supposed to be in wetlands will be much more efficient than the plants that grow up because the seeds blow there and land there, or invasive species that have come in since then.
Right.
Okay, so it's going to look like a mess for a while, but it's a cool mess. You can go by and like watch the barge work and the heavy equipment. You know, take the kids, sit on the shoreline, have some fun.
You can be there, but obviously there are some areas that the contractor's using, so those areas will be very carefully separated. but you can still see a lot by, being in the Coliseum area and being able to look over and see the activities. Certainly when you're driving down either north or east or west on 64, you're going to be able to see the activities. And I love it. We have a marine contractor, and they're extremely professional because that's what they specialize in. So it's not something that people normally have the opportunity to see.
Because usually it's out in the water,
Right, exactly.
farther away.
So they're actually going to be able to observe these activities. I actually took a video the other day. I'm such an engineering nerd. They were changing out the tracks on the crane, and it's amazing that these are sort of like large Tinker toys, or Lego, where you can actually. They convert from one use
like
to
little
another.
transformers,
Exactly.
kinda.
So they're really cool to watch.
That's fun. Now, we've been talking about this for 2 years. 2 years ago, thought we were kind of ready to go. So how long is it going to take from now when they're actually starting until the project is complete? I'm going to guess it's going to take a while.
Actually, they're supposed to be done towards the end of March.
Okay, so
this is
6 months.
Right. This is the season, though, where we get, unfortunately, weather delays. And so that could possibly affect them. But that's the plan, and both projects are going to be, they've started approximately the same time and are going to end at approximately the same time. So once they're out, and I'm sure the Coliseum will be very happy about that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we've done a lot of coordination with the Coliseum. They've been incredible in helping us figure out how we were going to do that.
Access,
there's
parking,
not a lot of access.
It's tight
It's
little
very,
area.
very, very tight.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Gayle. We're looking forward to watching this project go every time we drive by.
Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you for watching. You understand what's going on out there might look messy for a while, and it's going to take out some of the vegetation that's there now, but when we're done, it will hold more water. It will better filter that water and protect the bay and protect Hampton from a little bit of flooding. Thanks for watching.